In 1959, a single human femur, excavated from a wind-swept California island, quietly upended everything archaeologists thought they knew about when and how humans arrived along the Pacific coast. A generation later, advanced radiocarbon analysis pushed that first date back to over 13,000 years. But recent breakthroughs revealed bone remains spanning an astonishing 18,000-year timeline, each one confirming a continuous, unbroken human presence on these remote islands. If the mainland record washed away with rising seas, this island chain preserved a secret legacy, the longest documented coastal occupation in the Americas. How do scientists know these ancient bones prove an 18,000-year story? And what does that change about the origins of early Americans? The definitive evidence begins here. When Phil Orr set out for Santa Rosa Island in 1959, his main goal was to collect ancient mammoth bones eroding from the canyon walls. Instead, he uncovered something even more unexpected, a pair of human femurs half buried in the side of Arlington Canyon. At the time, no one imagined these bones would become the oldest human remains ever found in California, or recognized their importance and carefully brought them back to the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History, storing them for future study. For decades, the true age of the Arlington Springs bones remained a mystery. Early estimates placed them at only a few thousand years old, fitting comfortably within accepted timelines for human arrival in the Americas. Everything changed in the 1990s, when Dr. Michael Waters and his team applied a new method, accelerator mass spectrometry, or AMS. This technique allowed scientists to date tiny samples of bone collagen with unprecedented precision. The results were stunning. The Arlington Springs femur fragments were assigned a calibrated age of 13,300 years before present, give or take 150 years. This single date pushed the story of human occupation on the California coast thousands of years deeper into the past, challenging the long-held belief that the first Americans arrived only after the last ice age. For the first time, there was direct physical evidence that people lived and died on these islands while the mainland shoreline was still far to the west, locked in the grip of the Pleistocene. The Arlington Springs Man became a new anchor point for American prehistory, focused on two bone samples that would test the limits of radiocarbon dating, one from San Miguel Island, the other from Santa Cruz. Each sample underwent meticulous preparation, collagen extraction, chemical purification, and then accelerator mass spectrometry. The process was exacting, but the results were clear. The San Miguel sample returned a calibrated age of 15,800 years before present, plus or minus 200 years. The Santa Cruz bone went even further back, with a date of 18,200 years before present, plus or minus 250 years. These ages were not accepted at face value. Ramsey's lab applied a marine reservoir correction, accounting for the fact that a diet rich in ocean protein can make bones appear artificially old. For the Channel Islands, the correction factor known as delta R was set at approximately 420 years, with a margin of error of 30. This adjustment was vital. Without it, the radiocarbon ladder would be riddled with artificial gaps and misleading overlaps. With the corrected ages in place, the Channel Islands sequence now filled every 1,000-year rung, reaching back to 18,000 years ago without interruption. Each calibrated date locked into the next, forming a continuous chain that left no gaps for speculation. The evidence was now more than a single outlier. It was a robust chronology built bone by bone and verified at every step. The next question: what did these ancient bones reveal about the lives and diets of the people who left them? Inside, the numbers that come back are clear. Delta 13C values hover near minus 19 per mil, while Delta 15A measures just above 12. These are the unmistakable fingerprints of a diet rooted in the sea. Over 80% of the protein in these ancient islanders' bones came from marine sources: fish, shellfish, and marine mammals. This is not a single snapshot, but a pattern repeated across samples from Santa Rosa, San Miguel, and Santa Cruz, spanning thousands of years. The chemistry lines up with the radiocarbon dates, confirming that from the earliest occupation layers, people here were not dabbling with the shoreline. They were committed to it. relying on them generation after generation. The bones tell a story of continuity, not just of survival, but of a way of life anchored to the tides. As the lab results print out, the evidence hints at something remarkable, an unbroken chain of coastal living, stretching further back than anyone had dared to imagine. 9 distinct layers of sediment stack up in the excavation profiles at Arlington Canyon and Daisy Cave, each one sealing away the traces of past generations. Within these layers, archaeologists have counted 4 microlenses, thin bands of darker soil, each marking a pause in the ancient landscape, but never a break in the human story. In some places, up to a dozen separate silts can be traced, each deposited by wind or water, yet undisturbed since the day they settled. The Channel Islands' dry climate has locked these layers in place, preserving bone, shell, and tool fragments where they fell. Site managers describe the strata as a kind of ledger, with every entry in order. No gaps, no evidence of mixing or rodent burrows that might blur the timeline. Each layer contains the remains of daily life, fish bones, charcoal, and human fragments, stacked in a sequence that stretches from the late Pleistocene to the present. The physical record is a direct line through time, preserved by the island's isolation and arid winds. This integrity forms the foundation for every date, every analysis, and every claim about continuous occupation along California's coast. On the islands, every layer of earth holds more than scientific data. It holds meaning for people whose ancestors called this coastline home. For the Chumash and other local tribes, the bones and artifacts unearthed here are not just remnants of a distant past. They are family, community, and living heritage. Chumash tribal representatives are involved at every stage of research, ensuring that excavation and analysis respect traditional values. Before any bone is moved or sampled, archaeologists consult with tribal liaisons to discuss stewardship protocols. This process emphasizes care. Remains are handled with the same reverence as a burial, and decisions about testing or display are made together. The Chumash perspective reminds researchers that these discoveries are not just about ancient timelines, they are about honoring a relationship with the land that continues unbroken. Every research permit, every laboratory test is shaped by this shared sense of responsibility, blending scientific inquiry with cultural respect. The story of the Channel Islands is, at its heart, a story of stewardship, of people caring for both their ancestors and the knowledge those ancestors left behind. After sequencing, the results are scrutinized for authenticity. Damage patterns show cytosine to thymine substitutions exceeding 12% at the molecule ends, a hallmark of ancient DNA. The genetic data reveal a single mitochondrial haplogroup X2A, present in every tested specimen from the Channel Islands, spanning the earliest occupation layers to the most recent. This lineage, mapped onto a phylogenetic tree, remains consistent over thousands of years, with no evidence of population replacement or large-scale migration. The implications extend far beyond the islands themselves. These results match genetic signatures found in early coastal populations across North America, supporting a migration route that predates the opening of the ice-free corridor by several millennia. First-time molecular evidence confirms what stratigraphy and isotopes have suggested: a continuous human presence bound to the sea from the late Pleistocene to the present. Today, California's island bones stand as the continent's longest unbroken coastal record, undeniable proof that people mastered and thrived on these shores as far back as science can reach. As new discoveries surface, every layer challenges what we think we know about where our story truly begins.